Hi, I'm autistic. I don't have enough tea for that. Now, of course, this makes sense because I am making this video on my YouTube channel dedicated to historical craft and costuming and cosplay and shit. So like, who didn't see this coming really? But we're here now, and also I made something so that you can watch me sew while I talk about my autism. Yay! It's not finished. It still has to have a lining in it, but I don't have lining fabric. So if you're down for a craft and chat as I talk about my history with autism. My history with autism, I grew up with an actually autistic sister. She's alive. I grew up with an actually autistic sister, and she was tested very young for autism, and she got diagnosed. My parents had adapted pretty well to parenting an autistic child, so when I came out, everyone just thought that I was like a happy, healthy, neurotypical baby. So much for that plan. My parents didn't really think much of my symptoms because they didn't know what was me parroting my sister and what was me actually having autism symptoms. This created this lovely thing called masking. Masking is a general term for how autistic people cope with like having to be neurotypical in the world. So much so that I'm still like a very heavily masked individual today. Like, I don't know what I am without it, and that kind of sucks. So I just generally grew up thinking that I was just fucked up in ways that wasn't autism. And, you know, so much for that. Like, there have been some signs, definitely. One of the major things that has happened that I kind of look back on with my autism is when I was in Minsk with my husband, then boyfriend. I like nearly like every second time we would go out into the city, I would just like get overstimulated, freak out, cry, and like that kind of seeped into like my regular everyday, like a year ago now, I think. That kind of seeped into my regular everyday in America, and I had started getting really overstimulated on trips to the grocery store and like enrichment dates, as we call it, where we just like go to a museum or something, so much that I'd shut down and I wouldn't talk or like interact with humans. I just wouldn't want to do that, and every interaction was painful. So yeah, I just got really overstimulated, and I was like, why? Because like I used to work at Lush and stuff, and that place is overstim central. So I mean, like, why couldn't I just handle it, you know? So I went to my psychiatrist, shout out to Dr. McKay. You're a good one, Mr. McKay. We went through this litmus test of like autism symptoms and stuff like that, just kind of, you know, cash. And we determined that I might have autism that is more sensory focused than like socially focused. You know what I mean? Now that I'm starting to think about it, and now that I'm like slowly starting to detangle what it is to be living unmasked, some of those no's in those litmus tests actually turned into yeses. So here are my symptoms. I have sensory hypersensitivity. The sensory hypersensitivity. That's a tongue twister. Especially to light and sound. I am hyposensitive to smell, which is crazy because, again, worked at Lush. I do have special interests. There is a fashion history special interest, definitely. And I do have just like the general impulse to craft. I also have really bad executive dysfunction issues, like to the point where I didn't film this voiceover until this is the 28th. And this video goes out on the 29th for patrons. So, shout out to my patrons. Thank you. But also, my executive dysfunction is kicking my ass. I have repetitive stims, like leg bouncing and like drumming. I drum, especially like in a car. And I do have like comfort content that is kind of repetitive. I'm not going to talk too much about it because I still don't know how much of it is just like me wanting the comfort of a video I've watched 15, 70, 25 times. Or if it's just like a not autism thing. And we do have some social things mixed in there. I'm really bad at subtext, and I am really bad at like knowing when people are mad at me. But it tends to overextend because I think people are mad at me when they're not. So there's that. So, what does this change? And I don't think it changes a lot. I just think it gives me like a little toolbox. And it's like, here's how you deal with this now. Because when you were younger and you didn't know how to deal with it, it was really severe for you. But now that I know how to deal with it, I feel freer, I think. I do feel more fulfilled in that sense, because it's just like, it just feels right. And I'm glad that I have this little tangible way of saying it, so that when I try to find new coping mechanisms, when I try to talk to a therapist about it, I can like get better help than I did when I like was undiagnosed. And that's the same for my schizophrenia. That's the same for most of my disorders. So yeah, that's it. Have fun. Peace.